It's amazing what lights can do. The colors, the excitement, the feeling that something amazing is about to happen. Who doesn't want that? Just need to figure out how to do it.
Jillian.
Thank you. Yes, Greg. Thank you for coming from behind the camera to tell me. I'm just so fascinated by you. And I'd like to know where your fascination with lighting in the garden began.
You know what? When you're a child and you see those Christmas lights at Christmas, I think for everybody, that's the joy of the Christmas, is those little sparkles of the lights. As a child, you kind of go, wow, that's so fun and exciting. And then it gets put away. But now as an adult, and in the garden scenario, you have a chance to bring the child from within back out and have fun in the summer with that. You know, and ultimately it just starts with the very simple solar-powered path garden stake lights, which we're all familiar with, which is the simplest thing to start with and say, I need to do something, I guess. What's the simplest thing to get? And you stick a couple of those in, and you're done. And it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and then you were like, oh, that solar light looks fantastic. What if I
did something else? And the point of doing that is you go out and enjoy the garden in non-daylight hours. Because, you know, the only time you're going to do that is maybe putting the headlight on and going getting the slugs in the middle of the night, going, I'm going to get those slugs. But if you actually want to enjoy the night once it starts getting dark, and it's a twofold experience because, you know, you could just put industrial lighting up and just say, hey, poof, I'm going to enjoy the light, the garden where it's pretending to have sunlight. Or you can also create a whole nother experience and a whole nother journey in color and light and texture.
I think it's very interesting because I think it's very important in my life and perhaps for other people to explore their inner child always. And so lights in the garden totally remind me of that, the magic, like the fairies and the lightning bugs and all of that you see. So there's magic to be found in the evening.
There is. There's so much magic to be found. And, you know, you can start with all those little things you think, oh, it's only a couple of dollars. I'll just put a few things out. The solar-powered million things that are solar-powered work great. It's done. You know, when we do use candles, it's always in vessels because we have pets and it's, you know, want to create fire. So candles. And then you get into the wired stuff, which is the next level of like, oh, get those step-down voltage systems, but those really are not that complicated. You plug them in, you run your wire. Along those wires, you can put in things, so that's what I've done in many areas. And that gives you the flexibility of having a system that a click here and a click there, and the whole thing turns on. It's the fountains, it's the lighting, it's the LEDs, it's a couple of power switches. You know, these power switches do some other things that are fun too. So we might as well put those power switches on. And they create another little ambiance. Hopefully you don't get the fire department thinking that we've got some backyard barbecue going out of control here. I better hit the off button on that before we get smoked out.
But fun.
But that's the idea is to have some fun with the lighting and the effects back here. And you know, so I have every year you just kind of level up to the next thing. And sometimes it's just recycling very old Christmas lights. It's recycling, and a lot of that is that concept of like it's on a budget. It's always on a budget. Everything's always on a budget. What do I find that's being discounted? That's from last year or 3 years ago that I'm like, oh hey, I can use this for that. And
it's kind of like sculpting. Like I've watched you sort of toy with the light and stuff, and how you're not just like plunking a light anywhere, you're actually like fashioning it to capture certain sort of things. And you're highlighting different objects throughout the yard as well. So you're really guiding us through the space.
It's R&D. Everything's R&D. So I'm always moving stuff around. If you come to our garden every year, it's not quite the same as it was the year before because we move stuff around all the time. And so, you know, I enjoy that artistry of whether it's the lighting and saying, well, how does it look now? And you know, we take in so much in our life through our eyes that, you know, that I just keep a little bit at a time. And that's what it is, though. It's just a little bit at a time. And people said to me, you know, I've had people say, they come here and go, holy, did you design all this to be this? I'm like, no. And you know, and of course with Twila as well, no, we didn't design it to be like this. We just did it a little bit at a time.
It just naturally evolved.
It just evolved. Continuing. It's like, you know, it's a lot of scrap wood here and a little that there, and found this there, and I guess it does look kind of nice now. I don't know. I'm just used to it.
It looks really, really nice.
I'm just used to the way it looks, and I'm like, oh, you should have seen it when it was just a garbage pile and a few Christmas lights here and there, and that was it. And you know, and it seemed great then too to me at the time. And all of a sudden, I guess it's become a something.
Yeah.
I never really noticed how it got here, just little by little.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool because you're taking really natural elements, adding this sort of artificial lighting to them, but it's just,
you know, and I do have, I'm not a super fan of a lot of, you know, I wish I could get in there and change the G code or whatever, you know, the coding of some of these and tweak, reprogram some of the coding of of the lighting that some of these puck lights that I use that augment it and tone them down a bit. Only use the yellow, reds, and oranges. Get away from, you know, that thing. So anyway, I just work with what is very inexpensive, what's accessible, without getting too caught up in too much madness. But just having fun with it and having a nice experience with it, and just creating a little environment. Some of this stuff I do flip a few things, not a lot, but a few I can flip into the Christmas, because I try to then enjoy the garden in the winter. And then I just move them around and change things for that experience.
I love enjoying the garden in the winter too. I think too many people are missing out on that experience, because winter and snow is a magical thing.
It's just a different time of the garden.
Well, thank you so much. I think your recycling and your cost effectiveness looks like $1 million. It's just absolutely wonderful. And I thank you for sharing it with me. It's so lovely to be here. Well, you can stay into the wee hours because it's all lit up. You never know what time it is. Might turn on the tunes. Quietly.
We
won't disrupt the neighbors. Right.
The peacefulness of the sound of the water.
I think they probably really appreciate it too.
Stay tuned. There's more Twila and Jillian coming soon. Thank you for watching.